Welcome to the T3 Podcast, Episode 4, Week 5, 2022. This is a weekly podcast discussing tech, travel, and tracks. When it comes to tech, I will mostly talk about the M365 space and what I know regarding open source. For blockchain and crypto, I will refer to various experts and various articles. For travel, I would touch on cities and countries of interest, particularly how the global situation impacts travel and tourism. Tracks means beats and or music. I will let you know what I'm working on and talk about my music YouTube channel. Once a month, I will interview various experts from my contacts. This week's episode is travel heavy. I'll have a chat with Mike from a WhatsApp group that I'm a part of. He is somewhat an expert traveler, being that he's been traveling before he was a teen. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir.
Thanks a lot for turning up for this conversation, because I don't want to call it an interview. It's a conversation and, a conversational kind of chat. Where are you right now, Mike?
Right now I'm in Los Angeles, California. Beautiful, sunny, warm winter day.
Nice. I envy you a little bit. I prefer warm weather for sure. I'm in Brussels, Belgium, and it is freezing as you would expect in January, in winter times. I've never been to California before.
Well, you definitely got to make your way out here. Our winters, we have some cold days, but not extremely cold. Like today is actually really, like I said, nice and warm, probably about 75 degrees.
Nice. And as you mentioned with our text messaging, come and see the game, LA Lakers, and for sure, I want to be there for that. It's overdue, to be honest. When I was in the States, I was on the East Coast, so I was on the East Coast of USA. I was over there working in Philadelphia, and then I worked in Boston area for a period of about a year.
Okay, familiar with Boston? Spent a little time out there. Used to recruit from for my company from the local colleges, Boston universities, Harvard's, MIT. So very familiar.
Okay, please tell me a little bit about your profession, if you may.
Well, so happens you caught me in the transition. Actually, today is my last day working as a human resource manager at Providence St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, California. Come Monday, I will be starting a new position at Edward Jones Investments as a strategic business manager.
Nice. And I believe you will be starting in Medellin, Colombia?
Yes, actually, my position will be based in America, but I will be a remote employee, so I will be in the next month or two moving to Medellin, Colombia.
And it is not the first time you would have gone to Medellin, Colombia. You've been traveling for quite a while. So how long would you say you've been traveling?
I've been traveling since I was 7 or 8 years old. Started with family trips with my parents, and I caught the travel bug early on. And but specifically speaking about Colombia, my first trip there was December of 2017. I was invited by a friend of mine whose wife is from Cali, and he invited me to kind of tag along as his wingman to meet her family for the first time. And in that trip, we had planned to be there for Feria de Cali, but I wanted to make an adventure of it, so I went a week ahead of time and went to Medellin. Fell in love with it the first 2 minutes that I was there, and knew that was someplace that I wanted to go back to and have a home in. So that started my
trip.
From one trip, yeah.
I often hear this. Just about everybody, maybe 90, 97, 98% of guys say when they experience Medellin for the first time, they normally fall in love and they don't want to come back. So different guys have slightly different stories. So most guys, what they would do is they will reschedule their flight back, their return flight back home, right? So when time comes up, it's like, oh no, I have to go back, and then they will change their flight. And then some guys They just waste time trying to get to the airport. They eventually do go, get on the plane. Um, See, I didn't feel like this. When it was time to come, I was like, "Yep, I'm ready to go." Um, yeah, I feel like a couple of more days would be nice, but I'm a realist. So got on the flight, arrived back home. What I started to feel, was when I arrived, and I had like withdrawals, and I missed the place so much after I had arrived back in Brussels where I work. But yeah, this was my experience. When I came back, I had like the jitters, and I have withdrawal of missing Medellin. That's what my experience was like. What about you?
Exactly the exact same thing. Like I said, my first trip was in December of 2017. Originally, I was supposed to be there for only 2 days, which I was initially. And then I went to Cali. But even in Cali, I was in Cali for a week, and I was like, okay, you know what? I got to get back to Medellin. So I left
Yes.
Cali. I went to Bogota. I was supposed to be in Bogota for 3 or 4 days. I only stayed for a day. I went to Cúcuta, which I was supposed to be there for 3 or 4 days. I only stayed like 2 days. And then I went right back to Medellin. And I stayed to Medellin for another 3 or 4 days. Just because I was like, I just fell in love with it. And even that trip, when I came home, I went back a month later.
Yes, I often hear this from guys, they cannot wait more than 6 months to return back to Medellin. And they normally go back a month or two later. I had did something similar. Mine was 3 months, but it's because I initiated some business over there. So yeah, I found myself going back. It wasn't scheduled, but I was very happy, more than happy to go back. So as you and everyone have been experiencing the last sort of 2 years with the global situation, some people call it pandemic. I call it a plandemic. Planned, keyword planned. So have you been back to Colombia within the last 2 years?
Actually, yeah, I was my first time back since 2019. So just kind of give you uh, some background info. So prior to the pandemic, my last trip to Colombia, I went to Cali in November of 2019.
Okay.
Not that this COVID situation was going to hit. So I didn't go in 2020 at all. So that was just a wash. So no traveling 2020. I didn't go back again until September 2021 for my birthday.
Okay.
And then I went back again in December, middle of December, also in 2021.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. That goes on or moved on to my next question, which is what's your sorry, I'll start again. I'll cut this out as I go along, right? What is your overall experience in terms of paperwork, airport check-in in process during the flight? Sorry, I'll start again. Maybe I'll cut it short. What's your overall cut? What's your overall experience in terms of paperwork, airport check-in in process?
Right now, with all the pandemic protocols, I mean, it's pretty horrible. So I can tell you, I ended up having to stay an extra day when I was there for my birthday. I ended up having to stay an extra day because at no point at all did they tell you that you needed to have a test before you got on the plane. So it's about, I want to say maybe an hour before boarding. I just happened to overhear one of the airport attendants talking to someone saying, make sure we're collecting all the test results. And I walked up and said, excuse me, what test results? He's like, well, you got to have a COVID test.
Alarm bells, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, so when were you guys going to just say that, tell us this? And so they said, well, we have actually a testing facility that's on site and you can get your test results within an hour, which is great. I'm like, okay, where's the testing site? Went down, it's outside the airport. Went down, went and got the information, but there was no way that I could get tested, wait for the results, and get on the plane. So I ended up getting tested, and then I had to leave the airport. And thank God there was a finca that's right like 5 minutes away from the airport. That is not very expensive at all, and I just kind of stayed an extra night there in the finca, and then went back in the morning with my results. But again, it was just like there was a lot of information that they did not give you at all. You just had to find out kind of at the gate.
I often hear this actually from lots of travelers. Something similar happened to a lady that I know in Frankfurt, or in the district of Maine, Frankfurt area. She went back home to Brazil, and it's the same situation. Literally in the line or in the queue, she heard whispers, and then she had to get tested. They do have testing centers in the Rio de Janeiro airport as well, and she pretty much did the same thing. Got tested, had to stay overnight in a hotel, and then made the flight the next day. Through looking up details, information, I know that there is test centers in the Brussels airport, but I decided that I'm not going to risk it, because I don't know how long they're going to take, even though they say 1 hour, but you never know. There might be a lot of people there. So if I do, I intend to do the PCR test within 48 hours as the information on the various websites, and do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Good. What about actually being on the flight? Your overall flight experience while on your way to your destination?
Well, again, that kind of varies on, the airline you choose. I will never, ever in my life again fly Spirit. That is uncomfortable plane. Oh my God, it sucks. But if you're on like an Avianca or a Latam or to some extent Copa, but they're kind of more Spirit-esque, you're going to have a good flight experience. Avianca especially, I mean, they have some of the most beautiful flight attendants that I've ever seen on a plane.
Yep. It's the airline. It's their pride.
Exactly. So yeah, I love flying Avianca, and actually too, even coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I will fly Avianca and drink coffee all day, all flight long, because it tastes amazing. And everything else, I think in Colombia, except for the pizza, just tastes better than it does, at least in the U.S.
Okay, all right. So it depends on what airline you're taking and how comfortable it is.
Yeah.
Do they force you to wear a mask on the plane?
Absolutely do.
Okay. That's also good to know. I've heard this as well, but it's good to get it from a first-hand experience. Okay. So you've traveled a lot, as you said. Which Colombian cities have you visited?
Man, I've been to so many. I've been to Cartagena. I've been to Medellin, obviously. Cali, Cucuta, Bogota, Huila, and then you have all the little small little pueblos in between. So I've been around.
And thanks to Mike there, I have more audio from Mike, which I'll play on future episodes, most likely next week's episode. That's it for this week's episode. Please check out my YouTube channel. That's Larry Sounds with a Z. So that's Larry space Sounds with a Z. And I uploaded a track last week, which is called Status Quo. I think it's good. Please have a listen and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Goodbye.